Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. Right in my hands is the Abandoned Empress Volume 2. This is a pretty interesting one. Original story is by Yuna. I think Ina is the artist. Translation by David Odell. Lettering by Lys Blakeslee. Alright, so this is... I haven't read the first volume. Let's just start with that. I don't remember requesting the second volume, but I got the second volume, and I'm going to do a review of it. So this is about Aristia la Monique, who is the empress-to-be. And she decides she doesn't want to be an empress. Her father kind of is like the head of the knights, and she decides to become a knight instead and leading this order of knights instead of taking over the kingdom. So she does a lot of sword training, and everyone's kind of fawning over her. Then her father eventually and a whole bunch of other people are kind of called away, so she doesn't have anyone to train her. That's kind of the gist of the story. It's about this would-be empress who decides she doesn't want to be an empress, so instead wants to be a knight. She's also not quite doesn't have the physical abilities to be a knight. Not because she's a girl, but just because she's not coordinated, doesn't quite have the strength and all that. But she works hard and seems to be doing good with her training. Overall, like it's an interesting volume. There's details that I'm missing because I didn't read the first volume. But generally, I was able to understand what was going on with the second one. So props to that. I mean, to be able to dive in and just be able to read something on the second volume, I think is kind of an impressive feat. So overall, like it's good. As far as like story wise, like this is just kind of not fantasy, but it's just kind of more like medieval-ish, not quite medieval, but like, dukes and duchesses, empresses, and sword fighting, and uprisings due to food shortages, and more like political machinations and interactions between individuals than like lots of fantasy and fighting monsters and all that. So if you're kind of more into that, it's a pretty interesting read. I'll admit, it was a little struggle for me. I was a bit bored by it. Like, it's not bad in any way. It's just not my cup of tea, and, that's totally fine. But as I said, like, if you were into kind of that, empress and princesses and sword fighting and, will they or won't they, and who will she marry and whose hand will she take and all that stuff, you'll enjoy it. And the fact that she's just kind of rocking and not wanting to be an empress instead of wants to be a knight, like, it's kind of cool. Props to them. It's really interesting to see this character balance the non-empress duties with being an empress, and you can kind of see that everyone kind of seems to struggle with the roles, and for the most part, the people around her age seem to struggle with the roles and what they're kind of destined to be and all that, which is, I think, it's actually a really interesting read. So overall, like, to me, it's interesting. Like, if you like what I've described, that, queens and kings and sword fighting, and it's a decent read. The art, actually, I dig. Like, I don't know quite the style, how to describe it. It honestly, kind of the character design and all that kind of reminds me of Pokemon. And it's not a knock. Like, the characters themselves, shapes of faces and expressions and all that, that's kind of what it reminds me of. I also, my exposure is a little, not tons of it, so I'm learning these things. So as I said, I feel like I described it pretty well. It's obviously in color. It's a pretty thick book, manga book. It's good. Like, if they kind of into that world, like, it's an interesting read. Like, I would be more intrigued to see what my thoughts are after reading the first volume going into the second than just diving into the second. But it's out now in comic shops, so you can go get it. We got a link beneath this volume where you can try to find a comic shop, put in your zip code, tell the comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We have some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage by doing that. You help support our site, though, so thank you. And speaking of support, I want to thank Yen Press for hooking us up with the review copy, and of course, thank you all for watching. If you are into comics, if you're into manga, if you're into graphic novels, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading that manga, and keep it geeky.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.